Hello everyone and welcome back to another random video on the internet. About a year ago, I made a video of who I thought were the top 10 strongest characters in One Punch Man. Since there have obviously been drastic shifts over the course of the entire year in the One Punch Man manga, and with the Monster Association arc having officially come to a close, I thought this was a good time to take another crack at the topic. But this time, I'll be expanding the scope a bit and ranking pretty much everyone who I believe to be the top tier characters in the series. The high dragons and above, as some would say. I'd like to say this list will be just my opinion, it's just the way that I perceive the series. I'm not hoping to change your opinion on said series or anything like that, I'm just throwing my own views out there. With that being said, I've read through the Monster Association arc more than once, and I've also dabbled in the power scaling scene a bit, so I do think the things I say in this video do hold some water. I would also like to establish that I will only be ranking the peak of every character. This is mainly to keep Garo forms from occupying half of this list in all honesty. And one final thing, I'll be putting characters into tiers of power. If two characters are in the same tier, that means I think it's pretty debatable on who would win. With a couple of exceptions, which I will point out throughout the video. But enough babbling, let's just jump right into the ranking. First of all, let's go over some honorable mentions before getting into who I think are the strongest characters. And I think a good place to start is Darkshine. He's pretty much a pillar of power in the series and pretty pivotal to scaling. He's obviously one of the stronger characters in the series, capable of literally popping demon level monsters with a touch, destroying a Garo who in a weaker form was tanking dozens of energy blasts from Rover and keeping up with suppressed Orochi. He also basically carried the S-Class against Black S until another honorable mention in the form of Vomited Fuhrer Ugly came in and destroyed him. Carnage Kabuto is another honorable mention for being able to push Darkshine to his limit for a while in the VGS. Homeless Emperor is another mention capable of bombing the battlefield and injuring Acid Ugly. Elder Centipede and Goketsu are here as well, being some of the higher tier cadres of the Monster Association. Psychos and Rover scale above them pretty comfortably, so they're here as well. Also from the Monster Association, I have Hellfire and Gale here for being able to pressure Flashy Flash for a bit, even if he may have been suppressed. Phoenix Man is also here due to his power being very inconsistent and his retconned Brilliant Eagle mode having impressive feats against Brave Giant. Metal Knight definitely deserves a mention here as well. He's implied to be one of the strongest heroes in the association. The big four, you could say. But he just lacks feats for now. I could include Child Emperor and maybe a few more monsters as well, but I want to keep the list from being too bloated. And the last honorable mention is Bomb for being able to fight with Sleeping Monster Garo while fatigued after helping Fubuki heal Tank Top Master. That was a pretty extensive list, but I wanted to mention everyone who I think has impressive scaling in the series and just to give an idea of what level of power we'll be dealing with in the actual list, as obviously the people on this list scale above these characters. Getting into the actual list now, at numbers 13 to 17 I have Platinum S, Orochi, Flashy Flash, Bang, and Atomic Samurai. Atomic Samurai in base is impressive enough to make the honorable mentions list, but it's really the Sunblade that gets him into the actual list. With it, he's capable of decimating Homeless Emperor and even overcoming Golden S's durability, which was shown to surpass Darkshine's. But that's where his showings end, unfortunately, as Golden S is able to react to him and intercept his attacks. Atomic also has pretty terrible stamina with the Sunblade, as his body isn't capable of handling its power for long. There's an argument to be made that Atomic possibly has slightly higher speed than Golden S and could potentially beat him on a fight, but that's about it. Orochi is here because he blatantly scales above every monster in the Monster Association, with the debatable exceptions of Golden and Platinum S. He's stated to be the strongest member, and in both pre-draw and post-redraw his energy blasts are some of the most destructive attacks in the series. In fact, his Gaia Cannon undoubtedly is the strongest attack in this tier. Orochi is also very adaptive and versatile in fights, being able to copy martial arts styles, use dragon-headed appendages, body morphing, and a few other abilities. However, he lacks any form of efficient regeneration, and in both versions of the story, the biggest thing he lacks is speed feats. We really don't know how fast he is, as the most impressive thing he's ever done is dodge or intercept some casual attacks from Saitama, and that was before the redraw, so I'm not even sure if those feats should be counted or not. Bang vs Flashy Flash is a contentious topic as always. Both of these characters have durability and strength rivaling and surpassing that of Darkshine, as they're able to take attacks and deal damage to a much stronger Garo than the one who was matching him. Flashy Flash faced a much stronger Garo than the one Bang faced. As we know, when Garo's awake, he fights a lot better than when he's asleep. Flashy Flash also didn't have his sword during his fight with Garo and Platinum S, so his attack potency should be higher than what we saw in that fight. And it could be argued that having a sword may have increased his speed as well. It's a little bit weird in One Punch Man. However, there's no denying that Platinum S was holding back against him, and Garo grew stronger than him very quickly too. Flashy was definitely the weak link in that fight. On the other hand, Bang was keeping pace with the weaker Garo, but he was also holding back a bit, taking time to correct Garo's stance, and refusing to use the exploding heart release fist. He also took direct hits from Garo a few times, but once Garo started using the exploding heart release fist, he was implied and shown that he could literally knock Bang out by just grazing him. However, it is worth noting that if Bang was bloodlusted, he could have used the exploding heart release fist in combination with a water stream fist, which would have amped his stats. So it really depends on how you view things when it comes to Bang vs Flashy Flash. It's also really hard to say how these two would do against Orochi, as they have pretty clear speed advantages over him, but Orochi is probably way more durable and probably has much greater attack potency. Last up in this tier is Platinum S, who I think is undoubtedly the strongest one here, as he was able to blatantly bully Flashy Flash while trash-talking him. As for how he fares against Orochi, even if you say that Orochi has greater attack potency and durability, Platinum S is way faster, and due to Orochi's lack of any meaningful regeneration, he could whittle him down over time with thousands of blows all over his body, or just concentrate on his head or chest, and eventually he could kill Orochi in my opinion. Unless you think Orochi is just so much stronger and more durable that Platinum literally can't even scratch him, at which point it's just going to be a stalemate. So overall, the way I'd rank the characters in this tier is Atomic Samurai with the Sunblade at the bottom, Bang and Flashy Flash interchangeably, with Flashy having the slight advantage, Orochi slightly above them, and Platinum S at the top. Moving up a tier at numbers 12 to 11, I have two characters who might be very surprising, but I promise I can explain. Metal Bat and Genos. I'll do Metal Bat since he's much easier to explain. At the start of the Monster Association arc, he's pretty garbage, but then comes back against Sage Centipede and is suddenly able to keep pace with a monster Garo, and when linking up with him can even do damage to Sage Centipede. Now, Garo was definitely the stronger one of the two, but Metal Bat was still able to react to him, combo with him, and link up with him. As a reminder, this Garo is the one who was able to outpace Platinum S and kill him in 2 punches, as well as straight up speed blitz him at the end of their fight. Unironically, Metal Bat would kind of bully everybody below him and just kind of beat them to death. And Genos is here because of how he was able to clash with Sairochi's beams multiple times, the same beams that can cut continents and directly upscale from Orochi and his beams. Unironically, 10-second full power Genos would just kind of disintegrate Orochi with his beams. Now, there is an argument to be made that Platinum S or Flashy Flash could still be faster than him and be able to dodge his attacks, so I will admit that depending on how you scale the characters, he could go near the top of the last tier and not this one. As for how I'd rank Genos and Metalbat compared to each other, I'm really not sure. Again, it depends on if you think Metalbat could dodge or outspeed Genos' beams. Moving up another tier and getting into the top 10 now, at numbers 10 to 7 I have Sage Centipede, Evil Ocean Water, Sairochi, and Tatsumaki. Sage Centipede is blatantly above Metalbat, as by himself he wouldn't have really stood a chance. Sage Centipede has a very notable size advantage over pretty much everybody in the series. He has a calc that puts him at small planet level. He also forces Garo and Metalbat to work together to defeat him, and forces Garo to grow far beyond where he was after his fight with Platinum S. His speed is definitely below Garo and Metalbat, but that doesn't really even matter much. Evil Ocean Water is capable of damaging Garo, who again two-shot Platinum S, and I really don't know how anyone below him would even attempt to kill him. Maybe the Gaia Cannon could, but it's not like Ocean Water is just going to sit back and let it charge. It'll sense Orochi's killer intent immediately and possibly attack fast enough to prevent Orochi from even shooting his tail into the ground to put out energy. As for wind conditions, Ocean Water has the Great Oceanic Cannon, which is capable of dealing damage to Garo, and it could also just drown people. Sairochi is here due to upscaling from Orochi by a lot. She has some good abilities too, like having actual regeneration, telekinesis, physical barriers, energy beams, and so on. She has attack potency comparable or surpassing Sage Centipede's durability, and if she hit anyone on the list so far head on, it would pretty much be wraps for them. And her attacks are of a wide enough scale that speed alone might not be enough to be able to survive against them. Even if you argue Platinum S is faster than her, he really can't deal damage fast enough to overcome Sairochi's regeneration, and he could easily be hit by multiple wide-scale beam attacks hitting the entire area at once, or captured by her telekinesis even with his speed. Same deal with Tatsumaki. Unless you think he just instantly blitzes her before she can even perceive his movements, no matter how much distance there is between them, Tatsumaki has omnidirectional barriers that are strong enough to block Sairochi's continent-slicing beams and attacks that far surpass Platinum S's durability and power, and could literally squish him like a bug. As for how I'd rank this tier, I'd have Sage Centipede and Ocean Water at the bottom, as they kind of stalemate each other. I don't think either one can do enough damage to the other to win this fight. Unless you think that Sage Centipede just charging at Ocean Water would generate enough force to just blow him away like Saitama did or something, I guess. And higher I'd place Sairochi due to her superior abilities and her attacks actually having high enough attack potency to harm Sage Centipede and high enough scale to harm Ocean Water. And at the top I have Tatsumaki because she really only struggled due to having to hold back in the beginning and protect the other heroes. If she hadn't taken damage at the start of the fight because of that, I think she could have beaten Sairochi by herself. Now getting into the big leagues, at numbers 6 and 5, I put Boros and Blast. I actually can't believe how much Boros is being downplayed recently. I've seen people claim that he caps at relativistic speed, which would literally make him slower than Awakened Cockroach and early series Genos. I don't even know what to say. I really think it makes no sense at all when Boros is clearly meant to be an Awakened Garo level combatant. I originally had a whole page written out in defense of Boros' power, speed, and durability, but then I realized it was taking way too long and should probably be a video of its own. I don't want half of this video to just be about Boros, so I'll say a couple of things here and move on. Boros has panels paralleling Cosmic Garo, implying that their speed is on a similar level. His striking power should be more than enough to bust planets casually, and his collapsing star roaring cannon is most likely star level. I used to be on the fence about this and lean toward it being planet level due to it being more consistent at the time, but Cosmic Garo has large star level attacks and beyond that, and Boros does scale to the initial version of this Garo, so him being star level with his strongest attack should be consistent. This is clearly a new tier of power compared to everyone else on the list so far, and easily secures him this placement above them. Blast is on this level as well, as he is blatantly confirmed to be the strongest hero above Tatsumaki. He also has impressive feats against Cosmic Garo because while he fails to deal any significant damage to him, his portals and speed are his biggest strengths and allow him to compete with Cosmic Garo for a little while. As for Boros vs Blast, there are already videos on the topic and I will link a couple of them in the description. I'll say it mainly depends on speed and your interpretation of how fast Blast really is. The main question is whether Garo had the power and speed from copying Saitama when he fought Blast, as he doesn't have Saitama mode on, but he's also implied to still have the power and speed he copied from him. As a certified Boros fangirl, in general I lean more toward Blast taking the win, unfortunately, especially if we take higher end interpretations of his power and speed, like him being able to react to Saitama and Garo's serious punches. I will say that it is possible to interpret the fight in a way that gives Boros the edge, but it's definitely a lot easier to argue for Blast, and we also have to remember that Boros has already shown us everything he has, while Blast has probably only revealed the tip of the iceberg when it comes to his power. But at least I can revel in the fact that Boros is gonna be way stronger in my What If Boros Turned Good series by the time we reach the finale, so yay for that, I guess. And now for the second to last tier at numbers 4 through 2. These are characters who are pretty much god level. Saitama, King, and Cosmic Garo from the end of his fight with Saitama. I'm sure you're wondering why Saitama isn't in top tier, and I will explain soon enough, but for now let's focus on this tier. Saitama and Garo are pretty obvious, both scale far above the rest of the series, with Saitama being way above Garo by the end of their fight as well. As for King, many people have lost hope in his luck powers because he quote-unquote died to Garo's radiation, but we never actually see that happen. In fact, King has his head up while everyone else is collapsing and dying around him. He has his head up, and it could be argued that he is not even bleeding, and that it could be just the liquid from the rain. So no, I don't think King's luck has run out or anything. I think he was alive and well until the very end when Saitama went back in time.
You could also argue that it was because of King's luck powers that Garo suddenly thought of a way to travel back in time and taught it to Saitama, as it indirectly saved King. So it could count as his luck powers?
But enough of that. Why is Saitama not at number 1? Well, at number 1 I have God. Yes, I do believe God is stronger than Saitama for the time being, and I actually don't think he's just stronger. I think he's probably in a whole tier above Saitama. Saitama blatantly had to grow stronger to defeat Garo, who only had a fraction of God's power. So if God came down in all his glory, he might unironically one-tap the current Saitama we have in the story today. But Caped Baldy will probably grow stronger and will eventually surpass God. And that's the ranking. I hope I haven't triggered too many people with this video. Please remember that this is just my opinion. It's not meant to change the way you view the series or anything like that. This is just what I think. But above all else, I hope you enjoyed, and if you made it this far, thank you, and I hope you have an excellent rest of your day. Goodbye.